Imagine working all night, giving everything you have, and ending up with absolutely nothing. Your hands are blistered from pulling heavy ropes. Your muscles are aching from constant movement. You have poured all your energy, all your skill, and all your time into a single goal, but your nets are completely empty. The sun is coming up, and all you have to show for your intense labor is exhaustion and defeat. Welcome to Jesus the Miraculous. Today, we stand on the shores of the beautiful but unpredictable Sea of Galilee, straight from the book of Luke, chapter 5. Here, an exhausted fisherman named Simon Peter is about to experience the absolute shock of his life. He has a massive problem right now. His fishing business is failing. The fish simply are not biting. His family needs food, and his partners are losing hope. But I want you to stay with me until the very end of the story. I am going to show you exactly how one single powerful instruction from Jesus can take your season of catching nothing and turn it into sudden, overwhelming success. If you want to discover the secret to this incredible turnaround, please like this video right now. Leave a comment below telling us what big breakthrough you are praying for today, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a miracle. The water of the Sea of Galilee is dark and cold. The night sky is scattered with stars, offering only a pale light over the rolling waves. Out on the water, wooden fishing boats rise and fall with the steady rhythm of the sea. Simon Peter is an expert fisherman. He knows this lake like the back of his hand. He knows the currents. He knows the temperatures. He knows exactly where the fish should be hiding. Beside him are his partners, James and John. They are strong, capable men who have spent their entire lives making a living from these deep waters. They throw their heavy woven nets out into the dark water. The nets splash loudly, sinking deep beneath the surface. They wait. They watch the water. They hold their breath, hoping to feel the sudden tug of a massive catch. But there is nothing. The water is entirely still. They grip the rough ropes and pull with all their might. Hand over hand, they drag the dripping nets back into the wooden boat. The net comes up empty. There is not a single fish inside, only wet seaweed and the cold realization of failure. Simon wipes the salty sweat from his forehead. He looks at his partners. Their faces show the exact same frustration. They cast the net again on the other side of the boat. They wait. They pull. Nothing. They move the boat to a different location, a spot that has always brought them luck in the past. They throw the net again. They pull. Nothing. This brutal cycle repeats for hours. Cast the net. Pull it in. Find nothing. Every time the heavy wet rope slides through Simon's blistered hands, his hope fades a little more. The physical pain in his shoulders is nothing compared to the heavy weight of disappointment in his chest. He is a provider. He is a businessman, and tonight his business is completely dead. As the dark sky finally begins to turn purple and gold, morning arrives. The night of labor is officially over. The fishermen guide their empty boats back to the sandy shore. They step out into the shallow water, their legs heavy with exhaustion. They drag their massive nets onto the beach. Now begins the worst part of a failed night. They must clean and wash the empty nets. They pull out the weeds and debris so the nets will be ready for the next night. It is a quiet, depressing chore. No one is talking. There is no joy, only the harsh reality of an empty boat and an empty stomach. Suddenly, a sound breaks the quiet morning. It is the sound of many footsteps, the low rumble of a large crowd. Simon looks up from his tangled nets. Down the beach, a massive crowd of people is moving toward them. They are pushing, shoving, and leaning forward. They are desperate. At the very center of this pressing crowd is Jesus. Jesus is teaching the Word of God. The people are so incredibly hungry for the truth that they are crowding around him and pushing him closer and closer to the edge of the water. He speaks with a calm, unmatched authority. His voice carries over the sound of the crashing waves, but the crowd is getting too large. They are squeezing him against the lake. Jesus stops and looks around. He sees the two empty fishing boats tied up at the edge of the water. He sees the exhausted fishermen washing their nets. Jesus walks directly toward Simon Peter. Jesus steps into Simon's boat. He looks at the tired fisherman and asks him a simple question. He asks Simon to push the boat out just a little way from the shore. Simon is tired. He is frustrated. He wants to go home and sleep. But there is something about the calm power in Jesus' voice. Simon does not argue. He unties the boat. He wades into the cool water and pushes the heavy wood away from the sand. He drops the anchor in the shallow water. Now the boat has become a floating stage. Jesus sits down in the wooden boat. The water perfectly reflects his voice, acting like a natural microphone. The entire crowd stands on the beach, totally silent, listening to every single word he says. Simon sits quietly in the back of the boat. He is a captive audience. He has just spent the entire night fighting the dark, empty sea. Now, in the bright morning light, he is listening to the Creator of the sea speak words of life, hope, and absolute power. For a long time, Jesus teaches the people. The words wash over Simon, bringing a strange sense of peace to his frustrated heart. Finally, Jesus finishes speaking to the crowd. He stops teaching. The beach is completely silent. Jesus slowly turns around and looks directly at Simon. The warm morning sunlight catches his eyes. He does not speak about theology right now. He speaks directly to Simon's current problem. He speaks to Simon's empty business. Jesus says, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon stares at Jesus. The silence in the boat is heavy. Simon's mind is racing. He is a professional fisherman. Jesus is a carpenter and a teacher. Every fisherman on this lake knows that you catch fish at night in the shallow water. You do not catch fish in the bright heat of the morning in the deep water. What Jesus is asking goes against every single rule of fishing. It defies logic. It completely ignores Simon's professional experience. Simon looks down at his washed and folded nets. He looks at his blistered hands. He takes a deep breath. "Master," Simon says, his voice thick with exhaustion, "we have worked hard all night and haven't caught anything." Simon is being honest. He is stating the painful facts. We tried. We gave it our best. The timing is wrong. The strategy is wrong. The water is empty. But Simon does not stop there. He takes a breath, looks into the calm, powerful eyes of Jesus, and makes the greatest pivot of his entire life. "But because you say so, I will let down the nets." This is the moment everything changes. Simon chooses faith over logic. He chooses obedience over his own experience. He decides to trust the spoken word of Jesus more than the empty reality of his long, dark night. Simon calls to his partners. They pull up the anchor. They row the heavy boat away from the safe, sandy shore. They row out into the deep, dark, mysterious water of the lake. The sun is beating down on them. People on the shore are watching. It looks foolish. It looks like a waste of time. They reach the deep water. Simon stands at the edge of the boat. He picks up the heavy net, the same net he just spent hours cleaning, the same net that produced absolutely nothing all night long. With a strong swing of his tired arms, he throws the net out over the water. The net splashes. It begins to sink into the deep blue water. Simon holds the thick rope in his hands. He is waiting for the net to settle. Suddenly, the rope jerks hard. It is not a small tug. It is a violent, massive pull. The heavy rope burns through Simon's hands. He grips it tight, his muscles straining instantly. The water around the boat suddenly explodes. Silver scales flash blindly in the sunlight. The water begins to boil and foam with frantic, powerful movement. Immediately, the boat tips slightly to the side. The weight is unbelievable. Simon pulls with everything he has, but he cannot lift the net. There are so many fish that the thick, sturdy ropes of the net actually begin to snap. Pop, pop, pop. The net is breaking. Simon's eyes are wide with absolute shock. He has never, in his entire life on this lake, seen a catch like this. It is impossible. It is a staggering, overwhelming miracle. "Help!" Simon yells, his voice cracking with panic and joy. He waves wildly to James and John in the other boat. "Come over here. Help us!" The other fishermen grab their oars and row frantically toward Simon. The water is splashing everywhere. The noise of the flapping fish sounds like a rushing waterfall. James and John pull their boat alongside Simon's. They lean over the edge, plunging their strong hands into the breaking net. Together, they begin to haul the massive, wriggling silver harvest into the boats. Fish after fish after fish pours over the wooden sides. The fish cover the floorboards. They pile up against the wooden benches. They fill every single empty space in the boat. They keep pulling. The catch simply does not end. It is an endless supply of provision. They fill Simon's boat completely. But the net is still bursting. They begin to throw the fish into the second boat. They fill that boat too. The sheer weight of the miraculous catch is staggering. The water level rises higher and higher against the outside of the wooden boats. Water begins to spill over the edges. Both boats are actually beginning to sink under the massive weight of this blessing. The tired, defeated fishermen are now completely surrounded by the greatest success of their entire lives. They are standing knee-deep in a fortune. The empty night has been erased in a single, chaotic, glorious moment of divine provision. Simon Peter stops pulling. He drops his hands to his sides. He looks at the mountain of fish filling his sinking boat. He looks at his partners who are gasping for air, their faces frozen in absolute amazement. Then, Simon turns to look at Jesus. Jesus is sitting quietly among the chaotic mountain of fish. He is completely calm. He is not surprised by the miracle. He is the author of the miracle. A sudden, overwhelming wave of fear and awe crashes down on Simon Peter. He realizes in this profound moment that he is not just sitting with a good teacher. He is not just sitting with a wise carpenter. He is in the direct presence of the holy power of God. The creator of the universe is sitting in his fishing boat. The contrast is too much for Simon. He sees the brilliant, blinding perfection of Jesus, and he instantly sees the dark, broken sinfulness of his own heart. Simon falls down. He drops to his knees right there in the boat, surrounded by the flapping fish and the rising water. He bows his head all the way down to Jesus' knees. He is trembling with raw emotion. "Go away from me, Lord," Simon cries out, his voice shaking with fear. "I am a sinful man." Simon feels unworthy. He feels dirty in the presence of absolute purity. He expects judgment. He expects this powerful holy man to push him away. But Jesus does not push him away. Jesus looks down at the terrified fisherman kneeling in the wet fish. The eyes of Jesus are filled with deep, endless compassion and incredible love. Jesus leans forward. He speaks with a gentle yet unstoppable authority. "Do not be afraid," Jesus says softly. The fear in the boat immediately melts away. The heavy burden on Simon's heart completely vanishes. Jesus smiles and speaks a prophecy over Simon's life. From now on, you will fish for people. Jesus is offering him a brand new purpose. He is saying, "Simon, I know you are a great fisherman. I know you know how to catch fish. But I have a much bigger plan for your life. I am taking your skills, your passion, and your obedience, and I am pivoting your entire destiny. You are no longer going to spend your life gathering fish from the sea. You are going to spend your life rescuing human souls from the darkness. You are going to build my kingdom." They slowly row the heavily loaded sinking boats back to the sandy shore. The massive crowd on the beach stands in complete shock, watching this unbelievable miracle come to land. When the boats finally scrape against the sand, Simon, James, and John do not run to sell the fish. They do not calculate their massive profit. They do not brag to the crowd about their incredible catch. Instead, they pull their boats up on the shore. They look at the greatest financial breakthrough of their lives. And then they turn their backs on it. They leave their boats. They leave their broken nets. They leave the massive pile of fish. They leave absolutely everything behind, and they follow Jesus. This dramatic story is not just ancient history. It holds a deeply powerful spiritual lesson for your life today. So many of us are exactly like Simon Peter before the miracle. We are working completely in the dark. We are throwing our nets out again and again. We are pouring our energy into our jobs, our families, our relationships, and our dreams. But we feel like we are catching absolutely nothing. We feel empty. We feel exhausted. We feel totally defeated. We try to use our own logic. We use our own experience. We think we know the right time and the right place to find success. But without divine instruction, we are just pulling up empty nets. The turning point in Simon's life was not trying harder. It was not getting a better net or finding a different lake. The breakthrough came from a single moment of radical obedience. Jesus gave an instruction that made absolutely no logical sense. Go into the deep water in the middle of the day. But Simon chose faith. He said, "Because you say so, I will do it." When you listen to divine instruction, when you obey the voice of God, even when it feels scary or illogical, that is the exact moment the miracle is released into your life. Jesus specializes in taking our completely empty boats and filling them to the point of breaking. He loves to step into our failure and show His overwhelming power. But there is a second, even deeper lesson here. The miracle of the massive catch was amazing, but it was only a setup. God will provide for your physical needs. He will bring the breakthrough in your business. He will fill your empty nets. But He does that to reveal His power so that you will trust Him with your eternal purpose. The greatest miracle was not the fish. The greatest miracle was the total transformation of Simon's heart. He went from a frustrated fisherman to a fearless follower of Christ. If you are in a season of catching nothing right now, do not quit. Do not abandon your boat. Jesus is about to step into your situation. He is about to speak a word of direction over your life. Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to cast your net one more time? Not on your own strength, but entirely on His word. Because when He speaks, everything changes instantly. The deep waters hold blessings you cannot even begin to imagine. Your season of empty nets is simply the stage God is setting for your greatest testimony. Trust His voice. Take the step into the deep water. Let down your net in faith. And remember, God's provision is never just enough. It is always pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It is breaking net, sinking boat kind of power. But what happens when the sea is no longer a place of miraculous provision, but a terrifying force of deadly destruction? What happened when Jesus and these exact same fishermen faced a violent, twisting storm that threatened to violently drown them all in the middle of the night? The shocking answer to that question will completely change how you face the terrifying storms in your own life. You will not want to miss it. Thank you for watching Jesus, the Miracles. If this story built your faith today, please make sure you hit that like button. We promise to show you how a single instruction can change everything, and we hope you found that truth today. Leave a comment sharing what deep water God is calling you to step into right now. And please subscribe to the channel right now so you can join us next time as we witness the overwhelming, wind-stopping power of the Master of the Sea. Keep trusting, keep believing, and we will see you very soon.